Madison's face went from smug to sheer panic in a heartbeat as the restaurant manager stormed toward our table, two security guards right behind him. The room went silent. My wife clutched her purse, trying to hide behind her long, dark hair, but every eye was on us now, including the phone cameras. "Ma'am, we have a problem with your card. You need to come with us," the manager said, his tone cold, not bothering to keep his voice down. The waitress, Sophie, stood beside him, holding the receipt and my wife's platinum credit card, her lips pressed tight, barely suppressing a smirk. I stayed perfectly still, fighting the urge to grin. This wasn't just a scene. This was payback. Madison's fake confidence crumbled. "There's some mistake, just run it again," she snapped, but her hands shook as she shoved the card at Sophie. "Do it. Run it again." The manager didn't budge. "We did, ma'am. 3 times. Your account is overdrawn, and there's a flag for fraudulent charges. We've called the bank." Madison's jaw dropped. "Fraudulent? What are you talking about?" She turned to me, her eyes wild, searching for help, but I just leaned back in my chair, arms folded. "You want to embarrass me? Go ahead, keep going," I thought. For years, she'd done nothing but drag me through the mud in public, always playing the victim, always making me the punchline. But tonight, everyone could see who she really was. A guy at the next table started recording, whispering to his girlfriend. Someone in the corner was already uploading to TikTok. I caught a glimpse of my own reflection in the window, calm, collected, ready for war. For once, Madison was the one exposed. She tried to recover, shooting me a dagger look. "Travis, give me your card. I'll pay and we'll go." Her voice wavered, but she tried to sound in control, the queen bee demanding loyalty from her pathetic drone. I shook my head. "You emptied my accounts, remember? You said I was useless with money." My words rang out, sharp enough for the nearby tables to catch. Heads turned. Madison went pale. "Let's not make a scene," she hissed, grabbing my wrist under the table, nails digging in. I stared right through her, all those memories of her lies and sneers flashing back in waves. The manager stepped in again. "Ma'am, we need you to come to the back office. Now." Madison stood up, chair screeching, face white as chalk. She turned to me, and for the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. It was delicious. That was the night I stopped being her doormat. The moment the truth started to unravel, her secrets, her games, her entire double life. She had laughed at me for months, maybe years, thinking I was too clueless, too soft to ever fight back. But tonight, the script flipped. All her betrayals, her work trips, her late nights, the cold shoulder in bed, the mysterious bank withdrawals, came crashing down, right here, under the harsh lights of an overpriced steakhouse. And as she was led away, clutching her designer bag like a lifeline, I finally let myself breathe. I watched her go, not as a broken husband, but as a man ready to expose every dirty secret she'd tried to hide. The hunt for the truth had just begun. The restaurant doors swung shut behind Madison as the manager and guards escorted her to the back office, and suddenly, the entire place seemed to exhale. A few people tried to act like they weren't watching, but the air was thick with whispers and sidelong glances. Sophie, the waitress, hovered at the edge of my table, torn between pity and curiosity. I gave her a nod, silent thanks for not piling on the humiliation, even if she probably wanted to. I sat there for a moment, feeling the aftershocks of what just happened. The sting of Madison's public humiliation should have satisfied me, but underneath, there was something uglier gnawing away. Rage. Not just at her, but at myself for letting it get this far. For every night I made excuses for her coldness, every time I believed her stories about girls' nights out, and every moment I ignored the truth sitting right in front of me. The manager returned, this time alone, and quietly handed me Madison's bag. "You'll want to check your accounts," he muttered. There was something in his eyes, like he knew what it felt like to be blindsided by someone you trusted. I nodded, my mind already spinning. Madison was still in the office when I slipped out of the restaurant. She'd always been so obsessed with appearances, so careful about controlling the story. I could only imagine the meltdown happening behind those closed doors, the fake tears, the empty threats. For the first time in years, I didn't care. The walk home felt like wading through quicksand. My phone buzzed with text after text from Madison. First pleading, "Where are you? Get me out of here." Then threatening, "If you leave me here, you'll regret it." But I just walked faster, letting the city swallow up her desperate words. As soon as I got home, I started digging. I pulled out my laptop, logged into our accounts, and there it was, a sea of red numbers. Transfers I never made, payments to names I didn't recognize, entire paychecks sucked into the void. My heart hammered in my chest. It wasn't just the money. Madison had stolen my peace, my trust, and my dignity, one withdrawal at a time. But the worst was still coming. I scrolled through our shared email, years worth of receipts, vacation plans, birthday wishes. Then, one message caught my eye. An e-ticket to a hotel in Miami, booked 2 weeks ago. Not under Madison Carter, under Maddie Hill. My stomach dropped. I checked the dates. She'd told me she was visiting her sick mother. I clicked through her social media. Private messages, hidden friends, selfies with captions like, "Living my best life." Always with a mysterious hand or blurred figure at her side. I stared at the photos, anger boiling over into something cold and sharp. She hadn't just lied. She'd made me her fool in front of everyone. I opened her bag, hoping to find some kind of proof, and there it was, a hotel key card, lipstick stained, with a man's business card tucked inside. Chase Reynolds, financial advisor. I recognized the name from one of the suspicious bank transactions. My vision went red for a second. That was it. The dam broke. I dialed Madison, my hands steady now, my voice even colder than her heart. She picked up on the first ring. "Travis. Where the hell are you?" I didn't let her get another word out. "I know everything, Madison. Miami. Chase Reynolds. The money. All of it. I hope it was worth it, because you're done humiliating me. I'm done letting you treat me like garbage." Silence on the line, then the real Madison came out. "Oh, so you finally grew a spine? About time, loser. Go ahead, cry about it. You never could keep up with me." For the first time, her words didn't cut. They bounced right off, leaving me standing taller. "Enjoy your new life, Maddie. I hope Chase is ready for a woman who burns everything she touches." I hung up, heart pounding but head clear. The betrayal wasn't over, not by a long shot, but the game had changed. And this time, I was the one making the moves. That night, I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw flashes: Madison's smirk at dinner, her hand wrapped around another man in those blurry photos, my own face, stunned and hollow, staring back from the restaurant window. The betrayal throbbed in my veins, bitter and electric. But under all that pain, a new feeling was growing: purpose. I got up before sunrise, driven by a need to understand just how deep her treachery went. By 7 a.m., I'd pored over our joint accounts, my own credit history, even the house deed. I made a spreadsheet: dates, amounts, names. The more I uncovered, the more I realized Madison hadn't just been cheating on me with Chase Reynolds, she'd been systematically bleeding me dry, using every trick in the book. There were weekly transfers labeled utilities, sent to an account in Chase's name. Uber rides across town when she said she was with her friends. A gym membership at a club I'd never heard of. Madison was clever, I'll give her that. She hid everything behind a curtain of everyday life, counting on my trust to keep her secrets safe. But her arrogance was her downfall. Just after 9, my phone started blowing up with texts from her closest friends: Jess, Brianna, Heather, all with the same shocked tone. "What happened last night? Why is Madison saying you ambushed her? She's losing her mind in the group chat. Are you okay?" I ignored them. Let her spin whatever story she wanted. This time, I wasn't going to defend myself. I let the silence do the talking. By 10, Madison herself showed up at the apartment. She hammered on the door, screaming my name, then switched tactics and started sobbing, begging for me to let her in. I watched through the peephole, her mascara smudged, hair a mess, face twisted in a mask of fake regret. She'd never looked more pathetic. I opened the door just a crack. "You forgot some things at the restaurant," I said, tossing her purse at her feet. Her eyes went wide when she realized I had her bag. That panic returned, the same one I'd seen when the manager called her out. "Travis, please. Let's talk. We can fix this," she pleaded, her voice suddenly syrupy. "It was just a mistake. You know how stressed I've been. Things got complicated." I almost laughed. The woman who'd spent months humiliating me was now desperate for a second chance. "You call emptying our accounts and running off to Miami with Chase complicated?" I asked, my voice flat. "Was it complicated when you told me you loved me? Or when you told Chase the same thing?" She straightened, her crocodile tears gone in an instant. "You think you're so smart? You have no idea what you're doing. If you go public, I'll make your life hell, Travis." There it was, the real Madison. Cold, calculating, and ruthless as ever. I felt a strange peace settle over me. I'd spent years living in fear of her moods, her judgments, her temper. Now, I saw right through her. "Go ahead," I said, holding up my phone, the screen already recording. "Threaten me. Show everyone who you really are." Her eyes darted to the phone, then back to me. For a moment, I thought she might lash out, but instead she turned on her heel and stalked down the hall, her bravado collapsing with every step. I watched her go, and for the first time, I realized I wasn't afraid anymore. My phone buzzed, a new email, this one from Chase. The subject line made my blood run cold. "Let's be adults about this." I opened it, hands steady, ready for whatever came next. Chase wrote, "Travis, I know you found out. Let's not make this uglier than it has to be. Madison said you're reasonable. We can discuss the financial situation and keep this civil. No need to ruin each other's lives." I stared at the screen, stunned by his arrogance. Civil? He wanted to play nice now that he'd stolen my wife and half my savings? I started typing my reply, a new plan forming in my mind. Madison and Chase thought they could humiliate me, rob me, and walk away clean. They had no idea what was coming next. I didn't bother replying to Chase right away. He wanted to be adults about this, but adults don't sneak around with another man's wife and drain his accounts dry. I let his message sit, stewing in my inbox while I focused on something more important, protecting what little I still had. First, I called the bank. "Freeze every account with Madison's name on it," I said, my voice sharp and businesslike. The woman on the other end didn't question it, she'd probably heard the same story 100 times. Within minutes, I'd locked Madison out of every source of cash she'd used to fund her little adventures. Next, I called my lawyer, an old college buddy named Eric with a reputation for being a bulldog in court. I laid out everything, the infidelity, the stolen money, the threats. Eric listened in silence, then whistled low. "She's got guts, I'll give her that. But don't worry, Travis. We'll make her wish she never met you." By noon, Madison was blowing up my phone. Her call started out furious, cursing, threats, swearing she'd take everything. But as the hours dragged on and her cards got declined, her tone shifted to panic. "Travis, you're making a huge mistake. You're ruining my life for nothing. Please, just talk to me. We can work this out." I didn't answer. She'd had her chance to talk. Now it was my turn. The next step was gathering evidence. I needed more than receipts and angry texts. I needed hard proof for court, proof that would destroy whatever narrative Madison tried to spin. I spent the afternoon digging through our home office, snapping photos of paperwork, searching for anything she might have hidden. I found receipts from fancy hotels, spa appointments, jewelry stores. A necklace I'd never seen before, tucked into her sock drawer. The details stung, each one another slap in the face, but the pain was sharpening into resolve. My phone chimed. A message from Heather, one of Madison's so-called best friends. "I can't believe what she did to you. If you need anything, I'm here." I hesitated, then replied. "Did she ever talk about Chase? Or anyone else?" There was a long pause, then. "Honestly? We all had our suspicions. She was always bragging about how easy it was to fool you. I'm sorry, Travis. You deserve better." It stung, but it was what I needed, confirmation from someone close to her. I saved the messages, knowing even small things like this could tip the scales if things got ugly. Evening rolled in, heavy and gray. I sat in the living room, alone but strangely lighter. The house felt bigger, emptier. Every echo was a reminder of what I'd lost and what I'd survived. I poured myself a drink, staring out the window as the city lights flickered on. That's when the buzzer rang. I almost ignored it, until I heard Madison's voice, shrill and desperate, echoing through the speaker. "Travis. Open the door. Please, let me in. We need to talk, please." I pressed the intercom, keeping my voice even. "We've said enough, Madison. There's nothing left." She started sobbing, full on, her words tumbling out. "Chase dumped me, Travis. He says it's over, he's moving out of state. I made a mistake. Please, just let me explain." The satisfaction was instant. The great Madison Carter, caught in her own web. But even as she begged, I felt nothing but a cool detachment. I said, "You burned every bridge, Madison. You're on your own now." She let out a guttural scream, anger, fear, humiliation all crashing together. I hung up, locking every door and window. For the first time, I felt in control. Not just of the house, but of my life. That night, as I crawled into bed, I realized I wasn't the victim in this story anymore. Madison could lie, cheat, and steal, but she could never take my dignity again. And I still had one more move left to play. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the blinds, slicing across a house that suddenly felt like mine again. Madison's perfume was still in the air, a ghost of her arrogance that only made me more determined. Her desperate attempt to crawl back the night before replayed in my head, but I felt nothing. Not pity. Not love. Just a cold certainty, this was the beginning of the end for her. My phone buzzed before I could even make coffee. A string of voicemails, her voice, sometimes weeping, sometimes venomous, always frantic. I deleted them all. Then came a new number, Chase. This time, I picked up. I wanted to hear the coward's voice. "Travis, listen," he started, his tone suddenly humble. "Look, man, whatever Madison told you, she twisted everything. She told me you two were separated. I didn't know the truth until yesterday. I swear." I let him ramble, not saying a word. He kept going, desperate to clear his name. "She came to me, Travis. Said you were controlling, obsessive. She made me think she was trapped. I'm sorry, man. I'm out. I blocked her already. If you want to talk or need anything." I cut him off. "You're both liars. Don't ever contact me again." He sighed, realizing there was no more game to play. "Yeah. Okay. I get it. Good luck, man." He hung up, leaving nothing but silence and the satisfaction of shutting another door on Madison's drama. After breakfast, I got dressed and headed to Eric's office. My lawyer had everything ready, documents for divorce, evidence files, even a timeline of her deceit. He greeted me with a firm handshake and a wolfish grin. "Let's make her pay, Travis. With everything you have, the court will side with you." For hours, we sorted through details, bank statements, texts, photos, even Heather's confession. Eric made copies. Organized everything, and had me sign papers to freeze joint assets and block Madison from the house. The legal wheels were turning fast, and for once, I felt the momentum was on my side. Just after lunch, my phone vibrated with another message. This one was from Madison's mother, Linda, a woman who'd always treated me with genuine kindness, probably the only decent family Madison had. "Travis, I'm so sorry. If you need anything, let me know. I never raised her to be like this." Her words landed softer than I expected, but they also brought a wave of bittersweet relief. Even the people closest to Madison could see her for who she was now. Her mask had slipped, and there was no putting it back. That evening, as I sat at my kitchen table surrounded by evidence of her betrayal, my resolve hardened. I started writing a letter, a real, honest message for Madison. Not a plea, not an attack, just the truth she'd never hear from anyone else. Madison. You lied, cheated, stole, and destroyed something we built together. But you didn't destroy me. Not even close. Every humiliation, every betrayal, every time you made me doubt myself, it's over now. I hope you finally get what you deserve. Travis. I left the letter on the kitchen counter. A parting shot. I knew she'd come back for her things eventually, and I wanted her to read it, to see in black and white that she'd lost the only person who ever truly cared. Later that night, as I walked through the empty house, I felt lighter than I had in years. I'd spent so long living under her shadow, so long second-guessing myself, I almost forgot what freedom felt like. Now, every room echoed with possibility. No more lies, no more humiliation, just the future, wide open and waiting. But I wasn't naive. I knew Madison would try something else. She was too vindictive to let me go that easily. If she wanted a war, she was about to find out that I could fight back just as dirty as she did. Tomorrow, I'd meet with Eric again to finalize everything. But tonight, for the first time, I slept deeply, unafraid of what was coming. Let her bring it. I was ready. I woke up the next day to a different world. For the first time in years, my head was clear, no more anxiety about where Madison was, no more walking on eggshells. I had an appointment with Eric at noon, and by then, we'd have the final stack of paperwork ready to end this toxic circus. Still, the morning brought a fresh set of problems. As expected, Madison didn't just vanish. She upped her game. Around 9 a.m., I heard a commotion outside, voices raised, car doors slamming. I peered through the blinds and saw her standing in the driveway, flanked by 2 police officers. She wore her most convincing mask of vulnerability, eyes wide, voice trembling. "I just want to get my things," she said, pitching her tone perfectly for sympathy. "Travis changed the locks and won't let me in. He's trying to ruin my life." The cops knocked, calm but firm. "Sir, your wife says she needs access to her belongings. Can we sort this out peacefully?" I opened the door, keeping my cool. "She can take what's hers, nothing more. My lawyer is on his way." Madison tried to push past me, but I blocked the door. The officers insisted on accompanying her, and I let them in. Every second was a show, and she played the role of wounded victim for all it was worth, sniffling, sighing, casting teary glances at the officers, all while eyeing me like a predator. She wandered from room to room, grabbing clothes, jewelry, a box of old letters. I watched her every move, arms folded, making sure she didn't swipe anything else that wasn't hers. The officers kept a polite distance, but I could see one of them watching Madison closely, clearly not buying her act. Halfway through, she turned on me, voice sharp as a knife. "You think you've won? You think you're some hero now? You're nothing without me, Travis. You never were." Her mask slipped, and the venom poured out. I just shrugged. "Maybe, but at least I'm free. That's more than you'll ever be." She glared, but the fight was gone. By the time she stormed out, dragging 2 suitcases and a lifetime of drama, the neighbors were watching from their porches, whispering behind hands. The cops left with a nod, as if to say, "Good luck, man." And then it was quiet again. After she left, Eric arrived. We sat at the kitchen table going over the final papers, making sure every detail was airtight. She's going to try for alimony, he warned. But with the evidence we have, there's a good chance she'll walk away with nothing. I nodded. Let her try. I want this clean. No settlements. She gets what she earned. Eric smiled. That's the spirit. Most guys in your position would cave. You're handling this better than most. Better? Maybe. But I still felt the sting every time I remembered how thoroughly she'd humiliated me, how she'd paraded her new life online, made me a punchline, lied with a straight face to everyone we knew. That pain was still there, but it had hardened into something useful: resolve. With every form I signed, I felt a little more weight drop from my shoulders. When Eric finally left, I stood in the middle of my empty house and just breathed. It was really over, almost. Late that night, Madison sent one last text. You'll regret this. Nobody will ever want you after what I tell them. I stared at the message, then deleted it without replying. I was done with her games, her drama, her threats. She could scream into the void all she wanted, I was moving on. In the silence that followed, I realized what I'd learned: people like Madison will always try to drag you down to their level. But sometimes, the best revenge is surviving them, and coming out stronger on the other side. Tomorrow, my new life would start for real. And I was ready for it. The next day felt like a turning point. For once, my phone was quiet, no venomous voicemails, no fake apologies, no barrage of threats from Madison. The silence felt strange at first, like the calm after a long storm. I half expected her to pop up somewhere, to launch one last desperate ambush, but she was finally gone. Eric called me just after lunch. It's official, he said, and I could hear the satisfaction in his voice. The judge signed the emergency order. She can't touch a dime. You're safe, Travis. Relief flooded me, washing out weeks of adrenaline and sleepless nights. Thanks, man, I said, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I really meant it. Couldn't have done it without you. Eric just laughed. You did more than you think. Most guys would have crumbled. After I hung up, I sat at the kitchen table, letting it all sink in. The memories hit hard and fast: every lie, every time she'd made me look like an idiot in front of friends and strangers, every smug smile when she thought she'd gotten away with it. But there was something different now. The pain was there, yeah, but it wasn't running the show anymore. I felt stronger, sharper, almost unbreakable. I started reaching out to old friends, the ones Madison always tried to keep away, the ones she said weren't good for me. I invited a few over that weekend. We sat on the back patio, grilled steaks, cracked open beers, and just talked. For hours, I didn't mention Madison. I didn't need to. I could see it in their faces, they were glad I was finally myself again. That night, I finally got around to going through the last box of our old life together. Photos, letters, keepsakes, things I hadn't looked at in years. I tossed most of it in the trash. There was no room for nostalgia. But as I reached the bottom, I found a small notebook, a list of goals I'd written for myself the year we got married. Start my own business. Run a marathon. Travel to Europe. Be a father someday. Some of them felt ridiculous now. Some, impossible. But as I read through them, something in me reawakened. Madison had spent years making sure I believed I'd never accomplish anything without her, that I was nothing but a backup plan, a prop in her twisted game. Now, with her gone, those goals didn't just feel possible, they felt necessary. The next morning, I signed up for a 5K run. I called a recruiter about a new job. I even looked up flights to Paris, just for the hell of it. Every step I took was a middle finger to her memory. Madison tried one last time, posting online about how I'd abandoned her. Spinning some sad story for sympathy. I watched the comments pile up, some believed her, some didn't. It didn't matter. The truth had a way of leaking out, and plenty of people knew what she'd done. One night, as I walked through the empty house, I caught my reflection in the mirror. There were new lines on my face, sure, and a tiredness I hadn't noticed before. But there was also something else, something harder, wiser. I was still standing. In the end, the biggest lesson Madison ever taught me wasn't about betrayal, but about survival. People can tear you down, humiliate you, lie and cheat and kick you while you're at your lowest. But they only win if you stay down. I was done playing her games. My life was finally mine. The next chapter was waiting, and for the first time in years, I was ready to write it myself. The morning after it was all finalized, I woke up to sunlight and silence, a real, peaceful kind of quiet that felt almost foreign. My mind didn't jump straight to dread or suspicion. There was no one to tiptoe around, no venomous glances across the breakfast table. It was just me and the open possibilities of a new day. I made myself a big breakfast, something I hadn't done in years, and actually sat down to enjoy it. When I left the house, the neighbors nodded, some even smiled, as if they'd known all along that something ugly was festering behind our walls. I walked through the neighborhood with my head up, breathing in deep, and for the first time in ages, I felt proud of myself for surviving, not just the betrayal, but all the little humiliations and doubts Madison had thrown at me over the years. The old Travis would have kept reliving every awful detail, tearing himself up about what he did wrong, what he missed. But now? I was done wasting energy on her and her mess. If anything, I pitied Madison. She'd burned every bridge, and her little empire of lies was crumbling for everyone to see. Later that week, I met up with my buddy Sam, the same friend Madison used to call a bad influence. We grabbed coffee, caught up, and for the first time in forever, I told the truth about everything. He didn't pity me. He didn't judge. He just listened, then smacked me on the back and said, "Welcome back, man. You finally look alive again." That night, I found myself scrolling through old photos, but this time, there was no anger. Just a sense of distance, like I was looking at someone else's life. I realized that Madison's betrayal, as brutal as it was, had set me free from a prison I'd pretended was a home. She'd taught me the hardest lesson of all: sometimes you have to lose everything to finally find yourself. And honestly, the sense of freedom was intoxicating. I started making plans, real ones. I joined a running group. Booked that ticket to Europe, Paris, first stop. Started sketching out ideas for a business I'd always dreamed of. The one she told me was too risky, too stupid for a guy like you. Every step I took felt like another brick in the wall between my old life and the new one I was building. Madison tried a few more times to reach out, calls, emails, even a handwritten letter stuffed in my mailbox, full of apologies and manipulative nostalgia. I tossed them all. I knew now that every word was just bait, another way to pull me back into her chaos. Instead, I focused on the future. I spent more time with friends and family, reconnected with people I'd pushed away during the worst years. I let myself laugh again, real, unfiltered laughter that didn't have to be hidden or explained. If there's any advice I'd give to someone in my shoes, it's this: never let anyone convince you that you're less than you are. Never let fear or shame keep you trapped. If your gut tells you something's wrong, trust it. Fight for your dignity, your freedom, your happiness, even if it means burning everything to the ground to start over. You are worth more than someone else's lies. Looking back, I wouldn't change a thing. Every scar, every sleepless night, every public humiliation, it all built the person I see in the mirror now. Not broken, not bitter. Just stronger. Wiser. Free. As the sun set that night, I felt something I hadn't in years. Hope. The past was behind me, and for the first time, I was excited about what lay ahead. Madison's games were over. My story was just beginning.